Here we're talking living everyday wonder. This month we're talking about the body, and this week we're exploring how our bodies are the living communication device with a direct line to source. And that's what Louise Hay was talking about. Like we say something in the mirror that we want to experience, change, growth, I love myself, whatever it is. But we look at our face and our face is like contorting, or, our body is tensing up, our shoulders are contracting. It's like, oh, yeah, there's something else to do here. When we learn to listen to what our bodies are telling us, we move into flow with source. And we can experience a more fulfilled and authentic life. Our bodies are, these magnificent conduit between the universal consciousness and our individual consciousness. And we ought to celebrate them for the way they allow us to experience the world in which we live. And I said this last week, all bodies are good bodies. We have a unique an interesting body, and none of us should ever try to conform to an idea or an ideal, especially a social media idea of how our body should look. And we shouldn't try to conform as to how our bodies were, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even maybe last year for some of us. There will never again be a body like ours. That's how unique and special we are. So today we'll talk about loving the body and using it to connect to our mind and heart and listening to the body's wisdom. And understanding that the body itself, often without our knowing it, because we're not consciously aware of it, our body is a manifesting machine. It will take what we think and produce it or suppress it in its own creative ways. Our bodies are sensitive instruments to guide and direct us in living this wonderful life. And we can use our bodies, in meditation, in mindfulness, to feel into that whole moment that is becoming completely present in the here and now. Do you guys do that? Where you can just feel your body being present, and then your mind sinks into it, and then your spirit sinks into that. And you are one. You feel that wholeness and oneness. It's interesting that our minds can be, often in the past, off in the present. Our minds can be, thinking about so many different things. Our emotional state can be here, there, or anywhere, but our bodies are always right here, right now. Where else can it be? Our bodies can warn us, inform us, and direct us. They're more than just the container walking the consciousness around. They are that exact point. We do that V, that exact point in time and space where we're pressed from unlimited possibility into this perfect expression. The body is not separate from the spiritual. There are spiritual teachings that want to talk about the body as an illusion, the body of affairs, the body of effects. The world of effects is an illusion, Maya. But they are spiritual things in their own rights. Every single structure and process of our bodies are amazing when we think about it. Our cells are doing this divine dance. Every breath we breathe in is spirit rushing, is prana, chi rushing into the moment and space which occupies this body. It's like the life force rushing in and out, supporting us, living us. So we are, and our bodies are part of the fullness of God expressing itself in all these diverse ways. And getting acquainted with the activity of God through our body, accessing our intuition, listening to the divine nudges and shouts of the body will help us move into a deeper experience of what? Wholeness and oneness. So loving the body, sometimes we suppress or lock certain experiences into our bodies in ways that can create pain or other physical symptoms. And as we learn to listen to these suppressed signals, we also discover that our bodies are constantly communicating with us. They're talking to us. It's like the separate self. Our bodies are like, hello, wake up. You stuffed something in here that doesn't belong here. And, and other times we tap into the joy, of our body saying, yes, I love what you're feeding me. Look at this energy that I've released. Look at how I can move and am flexible with this yoga or the qigong or whatever we're doing, right? Our bodies are thanking us, or our bodies are warning us sometimes. It's worth repeating. Our bodies are not separate from spirit. These are divine. This is divine information we're getting. It's worth our bodies are worth attention and love for the very fact that the divine mind saw fit to manifest them. When we treat our bodies like spiritual instruments, we become the fully integrated spiritual being. And when I think of loving the body, of course, I went right to Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And when I read her famous book, Louise says, when people come to me with a problem, I don't care what it is, poor health, lack of money, unfulfilled relationships, stifled creativity, there's only one thing I ever work on, and that is loving the self. Loving ourself is literally loving our body, our mind, our mental activity, our emotional state of being. It is the entire self. Did you guys ever do that exercise that from Louise Hay, where you look in the mirror, like Sherry was talking about, and you say, I love you, Elizabeth? Did you ever do that? You look in the mirror, you have to say your name and you have to look into your eyes. And man, I remember doing that for the first time at Agape and probably one of my first classes. And while it wasn't that difficult for me because I was an athlete, and I had learned to be pretty amazed at what my body could do under certain circumstances and stuff, but it was unusual and it was uncomfortable. It was just flat out weird. I had never been taught to love myself. And there were people there crying, resisting, going through so much because they had never been taught to love their body, their personhood. We had these little mirrors and we're just like, what? Love me? I'm supposed to love me first? My whole self? So powerful. I invite you to kind of go back to the basics, loving yourself. And this I found was profound. Louise Hay said that people who love themselves and their bodies neither abuse themselves nor others. Think about that in our society. If we taught our children from the time they were born to love themselves, to love their bodies, to love their full expression, to love their sensuality and their sexuality, to love the whole of themselves, to be able to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I'm going to take care of you. You are worthy. That think of the problems we would solve just with that. Because we know the body is a manifesting machine. We talk about the law of attraction or the law of manifestation, and the body is a powerful tool manifesting whatever is imprinted on it. You know, we work from the top down, from spirit, mind, and body. And that is a beautiful thing because we're working from wholeness and love and beauty and peace of oneness. And we bring that to our bodies. But our bodies work from bottom up too. We see ourselves as these finite, small, fragile beings. And sometimes we take that to be our literal self, and we become fearful. We become judgmental. We can do all these, you know, we can bring those ideas as if that is our reality. But bringing our bodies into the conversation with our mind and spirit, there is that integration, that healing. Sometimes on the spiritual path, you know, we become very mental. I know we do. We're like right here. It's like we focus on what is right here. But, you know, even the talking head, even our emotions feel like they're like right here. We mentalize our emotions. What did I say last week? They're feelings, not thinkings, you know, but we want to analyze them and think about them. We forget that our body, the entirety of who we are, is the biggest and most expressive antenna. You know, it's tuned straight to the divine and to our highest good. You know, how many times do you get that headache right before an event that you said you were going to attend, but you really didn't want to? And your body's like, great, don't attend. I'll get you out of that. Here's a headache for you. You know, or this, you don't feel good because you've stuffed something or you've agreed to something that you really shouldn't have agreed to. We ignore our intuition and desires, and the body will manifest signs and signals designed to point us back to the right direction of our highest good. When respected, this creates that flow. Isn't it? Well, isn't it interesting that in our society, you know, we think that men who have crow's feet and older lines and their face is distinguished, you know, they're handsome. And women, our society depicts them as old. There's no handsomeness and no distinguished, you know. But when I look at a woman who has the crow's feet and those crinkles all up by her cheeks and around her eyes, you know, you realize that she has enjoyed her life and laughed. And don't you think that's wonderful? We need a new paradigm on how to look at our bodies and other bodies and honor and respect what our bodies do and how unique they are. Our bodies are sensitive instruments to guide and direct us. You know, what keeps us from listening to the wisdom of our bodies? I mean, literally, what is it that we have a meditation and we have this idea of, oof, I should blah, 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 or do this or call this person, and we go and act on it. But our body tells us something. We're like, nah, I'm not doing that. There was a time I had a dream. I get a lot of information around 5 a.m., you know, and I woke up with this dream, and I was the blueberry girl in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So I forgot her name, but, you know, she blows up, her whole body blows up, and there's a little tiny head and little tiny arms sticking out of this giant blueberry. And I had been feeling in my body. You know, my joints were really kind of sensitive. I would wake up in the morning, put my feet on the floor, and I could feel like joint pain in my joints and stuff. And I was feeling bloated. Makes sense. I was the blueberry girl. You know, just my body was trying to tell me something. It was not comfortable. And I woke up at the blueberry girl. I'm like, whoa, that was so weird. That's usually not the information I get at 5 a.m. And I hear, stop eating gluten. I'm like, what? I mean, I'm like, you know, who said that? I don't buy into the gluten thing. I live on bread. I eat bread for breakfast, lunch, dinner, pasta. I lived in Italy. I mean, come on, I'm a bready. That's what I am. Stop eating gluten. It was louder. I'm like, no, I'm just literally arguing. No. I hear it really loud now. Stop eating gluten. I mean, it was screaming at me. So I'm like, fine, whatever. Rolling the eyes, doing the whole bit like a teenager, you know. And I stopped eating gluten for 3 days. I can't even tell you how great I felt. I cannot tell you. No joint pain. You know, I'm not this again. This is my body speaking to me. And this was like 7 years ago now. I'm very careful with the gluten I eat. You know, I can eat it now, but I don't eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is powerful. My body was giving me dreams, telling me exactly what it wanted. What keeps us from listening to our bodies? Let's ask ourselves that this week. Even if the guidance feels off or confusing, what would it be like to trust this divine instrument, to be able to just say, what do you got for me? What do you need me to know right now? We don't have to understand every insight or intuition or inclination, but I think like any other way that we get insights and intuition, the more we allow ourselves to tune into our bodies, the more our bodies will tell us what they need. Our bodies are individualized expressions of the body of God. That's it. We're accustomed to dismissing them and thinking we should transcend the physical. But by leaning deeply into the physical, we can have a deep experience of communion with the divine. And that is the tantric tradition in Hinduism. It has expressed this beautiful relationship for ages, for millennia. The spiritual reality of who we are is spirit, mind, and emotion and body. The wonderful dance. There's no opposites. There's just aspects of the same whole. And listening to our bodies, we listen to divine instruction and guidance. So what shifts or, insights or aha moments can we have if we use this magnificent tool? Because like me, my mind would not attach to the gluten. I didn't pay any attention to what everybody was talking about or going on about with the whole gluten thing. That was mental, right? But my body wanted to tell me something. Let's remember to tune into, the body and what it is telling us, allowing our bodies to be the guiding another way that we connect to spirit. Ernest Holmes said, if the spirit or divine intelligence has seen fit to give us a physical body, it would be absurd to think of the body as an illusion unworthy of our attention. Rather, we should think of the body as a spiritual instrument. We are to affirm that our body is a combination of spiritual ideas harmoniously expressing life. So our affirmation this week could be, I listen to my body, knowing it is always guiding me to my highest good.